Chapter 6, the labor market. Chapters 3, 4, and 5 focused on the short run. Prices were assumed to remain constant. Output responded to changes in demand with no change in prices. In the medium run, increase in output will lower unemployment, raise employment, and put upward pressure on wages and prices. All this happens through interactions that take place in the labor market. This chapter studies the working of the labor market in isolation. Chapter 7 will consider the equilibrium in all three markets in both the short run and medium run, and the transition from the short run to the medium run. Learning objectives. Understand the difference among the participation rate, unemployment rate, and the non-employment rate. Be familiar with the three characteristics of the large flow of workers. Explain how bargaining power, labor market conditions, and efficiency wage considerations affect wages. Explain the relationship among output, employment, wages, and prices. Learning objectives. Understand both the wage setting and price setting relations. Explain what is meant by the equilibrium real wage and the natural rate of unemployment. Explain what the natural level of employment and the natural level of output represent. Figure 6-1 gives a tour of the labor market. Of the total population of 308.7 million people in 2010, the number of people potentially available for civilian employment is given by the non-institutional civilian population of 237.8 million. Non-institutional civilian population refers to people over 16 who are not in the armed forces or behind bars or in mental institutions who are potentially available for civilian employment. Civilian labor force, given by the sum of people employed and people unemployed, was only 153.8 million. People who are employed full-time or part-time are considered employed. People who are not working but have looked for work in the past 4 weeks are considered unemployed. Those who are not working and not looking for work are considered out of the labor force. 84 million people in 2010 were out of the labor force. Labor force participation rate, defined as the ratio of the labor force to the non-institutional civilian population, was therefore 153.8 divided by 237.8, or 64.7%. Labor force participation rate has steadily increased over time, reflecting mostly the increasing participation rate of women. Unemployment rate is defined as the ratio of the unemployed to the labor force. It was 14.8 divided by 153.8, which is equal to 9.6% in 2010. The non-employment rate is given by taking the ratio of non-institutional civilian population minus the number employed to the non-institutional civilian population. In 2010, it would be 237.8 minus 139 divided by 237.8, which is equal to 41.55%, much higher than the unemployment rate. The unemployment rate may understate the true extent of unemployment because discouraged workers who have stopped looking for work are not counted as unemployed. To understand what a certain unemployment rate means for individual workers, we must look at the movement of workers. Note the three characteristics of the large flows of workers shown in figure 6-2. On average, each month a large number of workers move, firstly, in and out of employment, secondly, in and out of unemployment relative to the number unemployed, and thirdly, into and out of the labor force, much of it directly to and from employment. For example, on average, out of 8 million unemployed, about 4 million left, 2.5 million found jobs, and 1.9 million dropped out of the labor force. The duration of unemployment in this case is 2 to 3 months. It is calculated by taking the inverse of the proportion of unemployed leaving unemployment each month. So 4 million divided by 8 million, which is equal to half. Taking its inverse, we get 2 as the average duration of unemployment. This reflects the fact that unemployment on average lasts a short time. However, in times when the unemployment rate is higher, the average duration of unemployment increases. On average, there were 8.5 million separations each month, 3.1 million changed jobs, 3.6 million went out of the labor force, and 1.8 million became unemployed. Only about 1/4 of these were layoffs. Notice two important features of Figure 6-3. 1. Unemployment rate seemed to be on an upward trend from 1950s to mid-1980s and then on a downward trend till 2006. And 2. Year-to-year fluctuations are closely associated with recessions and expansions. Two of the highest unemployment rates in the recent past were reached in 1982 and 2009-10. Figure 6-4 shows how fluctuations in the aggregate unemployment rate affect individual workers. 1. When the unemployment rate is high, percentage of unemployed workers finding a job each month falls. 2. As Figure 6-5 shows, the number of individuals losing their jobs increases. Equation 6.1 gives us the wage setting relation, showing the relationship between unemployment and wages, or the effect of labor market conditions on wages. Eventually, we will study price determination to understand the impact of changes in output on prices in the medium run. Two theories of wage determination are that 1. Wages are set by collective bargaining, and 2. Companies may pay efficiency wages above the reservation wage, the wage at which a worker is indifferent between working or being unemployed. Bargaining power depends on labor market conditions, denoted by the unemployment rate and other institutional and structural factors Z. Equation 6.1 shows nominal wages W depend on three factors: expected price level PE. A doubling of the expected price level will lead to a doubling of wages. 2. On the unemployment rate. Increase in unemployment rate will decrease wages. And 3. On institutional factors Z. Increase in unemployment benefits or minimum wage will increase wages. Table 1 shows why sometimes companies are willing to pay workers more than the reservation wage because it improves productivity due to lower turnover rate, lower layoffs, and absenteeism. In the medium run, increase in production will lead to increase in wages and prices. How? What do prices depend on? Obviously, the cost of production. Assume labor is the only factor of production and that there are constant returns to scale. Further assume production function of the form Y equals N, where N is employment. We are assuming that the cost of producing one more unit of output is the cost of one more worker, W. Assume imperfect competition in the goods market, so firms have some pricing power. Equation 6.3 gives us the price setting relation, where M is the markup of the price over cost. Let us now look at the implication of wage and price determination on unemployment in the medium run. Assume P equals PE, that is, actual price level is equal to expected price level, which is true in the medium run. Then real wage implied by price setting relation is shown by equation 6.4. Obtained by dividing both sides of equation 6.1 by the price level. It says that higher unemployment will lead to lower real wage being chosen by the wage setters. Real wage implied by the price setting relation is given by equation 6.6. It implies a decrease in real wage when the markup increases. Figure 6-6 plots the wage setting relation given by equation 6.4. It shows that wage setting relation is negatively sloped when real wage is plotted against the unemployment rate. The higher the unemployment rate, lower is the real wage for given value of Z. Price setting relation given by equation 6.6 plots as a horizontal curve because real wage as implied by PS relation does not depend on the unemployment rate. It depends on the markup. Natural rate of unemployment is given by the point where the two curves intersect. This shows equilibrium in the labor market because the real wage chosen by wage setters is equal to the real wage implied by the price setting relation. Notice the natural rate of unemployment will change when either of the two curves shifts due to a change in Z or M. Equation 6.7 shows how we can solve for the natural rate of unemployment algebraically by setting the wage setting relation equal to the price setting relation. Figure 6-7 shows impact of increase in unemployment benefits or the minimum wage, represented by Z, on the natural rate of unemployment. When the value of Z increases, the WS relation shifts up. The new curve intersects the PS curve at A prime, which indicates a higher natural rate of unemployment. Notice that the equilibrium real wage is not affected. Figure 6-8 shows increase in markup M leads to a downward shift of the PS curve to PS prime. This leads to the new equilibrium at point A prime, indicating higher natural rate of unemployment and lower real wage. Equation 6.8 restates the equilibrium condition in the labor market seen earlier in equation 6.7 by bringing natural rate of output Yn into the equation. To see how we go from the natural rate of unemployment in the equation to the natural rate of output, note that N represents employment, Y is output, and L is for labor force. Then unemployment rate U equals U over L, or L minus N over L, or 1 minus N over L. So U equals 1 minus N over L, or N over L equals 1 minus U. This gives us the equation for finding natural level of employment, which is NN equals L times 1 minus UN. From here, we can find the natural rate of output for the economy. Since Y equals N, Yn equals NN equals L times 1 minus UN. Equation 6.8 is satisfied at the natural level of output. So associated with the natural rate of unemployment is the natural level of employment and a natural level of output.